Good morning. Welcome. My name is Lawrence Fung. I'm the director of Stanford Neurodiversity Project. On behalf of the Stanford Neurodiversity Project team, I'd like to officially welcome you to the Stanford Neurodiversity Summit. Stanford Neurodiversity Project is a special initiative of the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Stanford University. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Laura Roberts for appointing me to lead this project. This summit has been in our hearts and minds for many of us for many months. We started planning almost a year ago, and we were ready to host a live in-person event on March 14th this year. However, because of the pandemic, we had to postpone the event and converted the in-person summit to a virtual summit. So the silver lining for this is that we grew from an attendance limited to 400 due to space limitation of an in-person conference to now we have exceeded 2,700 registrants in this virtual summit. In the next 5 days, there are about 60 presentations and panels, and also we have about 90 speakers and moderators in this conference. Here's the pictures of most of our speakers. You're going to see them in the next 5 days. And I would like to especially thank my team who have been working tirelessly for this event in the past many weeks, especially Christy Mata, Mark Gaviton, Ladan Mohammed, Isabel Morris, Vicky Lam. They are really amazing people that make this conference possible. I would like to also thank others in the organizing committee very quickly to name them each one by one. Catherine Gao, Janet Miller, Janie Hong, Quinn Nguyen, Marcy Schwartz, Helen Zhu, Kyle McKinley, as well as our collaborators, Kelly Turk, Yael Velek, Greg Yates, Jennifer Brooks, Andrew Eddy, Michael Fieldhouse, Dennis Hall, Jen Johnson Tyler, Nish Parikh, Stephanie Dickham. Without a collective effort, we would not be able to put this all together. Before I introduce the program to you, I'd like to briefly talk about the Stanford Neurodiversity Project. First of all, what is neurodiversity? For some of you that is new to our project, neurodiversity is a concept that regards individuals with differences in brain function and behavioral traits as part of normal variation of the human population. The movement of neurodiversity is about uncovering the strengths of neurodiverse individuals and utilizing their talents to increase innovation and productivity of the society as a whole. As I mentioned, the Stanford Neurodiversity Project is a special initiative of the Department of Psychiatry at Stanford. Over the 3 years ago, I founded the Special Interest Group for Neurodiversity after my colleagues and I attended the Autism at Work Summit at SAP. We were very inspired by how people in SAP changed the lives of people on the autism spectrum. We started meeting monthly and invited speakers to share with us about their stories about employment, student support, and mental health. And many thanks to our supporters, we were able to grow our program quickly. Now, from the few people that we were starting as voluntary effort, right now we have 5 full-time staff members. Additionally, we have part-time faculty members and staff and students all contributed to this project. So there are just about 30 or so people just only at Stanford that have been actively doing some parts of our project. There are 6 objectives of the Stanford Neurodiversity Project. the utmost importance is to establish a culture that treasures the strengths of neurodiverse individual. We want to empower neurodiverse individuals to build their identity and enhance their long-term skills of daily living throughout their lifespan. And if we do it right, we can attract talented neurodiverse individuals to study and work at Stanford. But it's not only at Stanford. We want to make sure that we are doing it for the community. We want to train talented individuals to work with the neurodiverse population, and we want to disseminate the model as widely as possible. Ultimately, our goal is to maximize the potential of neurodiversity, not only for neurodiverse individuals, but for all of us, because they have so much to bring to the table. There are 4 tenets in the Stanford neurodiversity model. First is education. We want to educate the public as well as neurodiverse individuals on our philosophy. And we collaborate with many departments at Stanford, as well as service organizations and companies on employment opportunities. We also provide mental health support. We collaborate with many different organizations, including our law school on advocacy work. And we do a lot of research because we want to make sure that whatever we are doing is going to be generating evidence that we are doing something that is rigorous and beneficial, so others can replicate what we are doing. We think of the neurodiversity project using a ecosystem model. In addition to the neurodiverse individuals, there are many people around the neurodiverse individual, such as the family, their friends, their mentors, their therapists. And in the educational setting, they have their teachers, their coaches, classmates, roommates. They collectively can really change the environment for the good. And even for the school officials and school community as a whole, they can change many things that can make the lives of neurodiverse individuals better. And ultimately, this in turn will benefit everyone in the educational setting. But in the employment setting, we also see the same. Supervisors, job coaches, colleagues can contribute to the experience of neurodiverse individuals, as well as the executives, work community, and other supporting communities. So with this ecosystem model in mind, we created 3 major initiatives in our project. The first is Neurodiversity Awareness and Education Initiative. The second is Neurodiversity at Work and Wellness Initiative. And the third is Neurodiversity Independent Living Skills Initiative. Within the Neurodiversity Awareness and Education Initiative, there's the Special Interest Group for Neurodiversity, and as well as Neurodiversity Awareness and Program, and neurodiversity courses and workshops. I teach neurodiversity seminar as well as design thinking at Stanford. And we have a neurodiverse student support program that I'll briefly talk about in the next slide. And we also run high school camp, and we're happy to announce that we have created this network for K through 12 neurodiversity education and advocacy initiative. And later in this conference, there will be some opportunities for individuals that are interested in the NIA network to speak with some of our students that's running the network. We are also starting the Neurodiversity at Work program, or we have been running the Neurodiversity at Work program. And because of the pandemic, we started this consortium on autism employment during and after the pandemic. I also direct the Adult Neurodevelopment Clinic. So with the Neurodiverse Student Support Program, we have many different components in this program. It is rather comprehensive. And basically, one major thing is about having peer mentors that are Stanford students to be working with neurodiverse students at Stanford. And the peer mentors would help these students on transitioning to college from high school, and they would teach them or help them with independent living skills and social life. And we will refer students to Office of Accessible Education for accommodations and to the Schwab Learning Center for learning support. We refer students to the Beam Center, which is the career center at Stanford, for career development support, and we also provide mental health support. With the orange part is the comprehensive neurodiversity support course, which is also a seminar course that teach many different aspects that are not covered by other components of the program. So we talk about self-efficacy and independent living skills and so forth. The other major program that is really very much connected to the theme of this summit is the Neurodiversity at Work program. This is a specialized employment program, and the objectives are to cultivate the concept of the strength-based model of neurodiversity in organizations. We want to empower managers and teams with skills to work with neurodiverse individuals. We want to increase job readiness for neurodiverse individuals. And we want to support both employers and neurodiverse employees throughout the entire employment cycle. So very quickly, this is the model. We have a candidate registry that welcome neurodiverse candidates. And we also have, if the candidates are job ready, then they will be brought to the matching pool to be applying for positions in our job bank. If they're not job ready, then they will be referred to pre-employment training or internship experience. And similarly, on the other end, we also have a neurodiversity job bank, which is the depository for jobs that are in neurodiversity friendly workplaces. And if the managers are already trained for neurodiversity best practices, then that's great. They would be posting their jobs there. If not, then our group will help them to make sure that their workplace is indeed neurodiversity friendly. So we have the accommodated interviews as well after matching, and then we walk through the process of the employment cycle throughout the steps in the employment cycle. So in the Neurodiversity at Work program, we provide support to neurodiverse individuals at various stages, including pre-employment training, job search, interviewing, hiring and onboarding, as well as a 12-week ongoing support program after onboarding. In parallel, we help employers on neurodiversity awareness training, and we provide position consultation, employment team best practice training, and we also provide support to make sure that the employers are able to make their workplace neurodiversity friendly even before onboarding. And after onboarding, they are also supported for at least 3 months. So this way, no one would need to play catch up. We would create a workspace that is neurodiversity friendly at the time that the neurodiverse employee is starting work. So each neurodiverse individual will have 2 major support circles. The first is the employee workplace support circle that consists of the neurodiverse individual and the managers, the team buddy, the neurodiversity at work mentor. And we have a coach that would be supporting the managers. And we also have another coach that's supporting the neurodiverse employee, which will interface with the personal life support circle, including personal counselor as well as family members. So please consider joining our project by signing up to special interest group, and let us know about your interest in neurodiversity. And if you know anybody that is looking for a job or has a job to offer, please let us know and introduce us to organizations that may be interested in this activity, and tell us how you want to be involved. So I'm just making sure that the attendees are okay. So let me quickly check. Okay, so Christy, if you can tell me if the attendees are seeing what they're supposed to see, that'd be great.
Yes, the attendees are seeing the Scaling Up the Neurodiversity at Work initiative with you
Awesome.
presenting
Okay,
to them.
cool. All right. Thank you. We are kind of new to this webinar conference style, so just want to make sure that the attendees are indeed viewing our presentations. So the next 20 minutes or so, I'll walk you through our summit. Our Stanford Neurodiversity Summit has a theme of scaling up the neurodiversity, scaling up the neurodiversity at work initiative. On the first day today, you're going to hear 4 keynote presentations. The first is by Dr. Liana Mayo from Central and Sullivan del Peru and University of Kansas. She is a really amazing leader that has helped many people with intellectual disabilities as well as autism to find work. So looking forward to her talk. And after her presentation, we'll have Dr. Halar Anabi, who is joining us from Seattle, Washington, from the University of Washington. She is going to talk with us about autism at work, what enables scaling. She is also the author of the very popular book now, Autism at Work Playbook. And the third presentation will be given by Dr. Valerie Paradis, who is a autistic advocate, a parent of an autistic individual, and she also works at Autism Speaks. Her presentation's title is Mr. Inevitable Goes to Work. The fourth section is actually a 3-hour session that's talking about intersectionality, race, and neurodiversity. We'll have a very rich discussion with Renee Brooks, Maria Davis-Pierre, Temple Lovelace, Jamel Mitchell, Oreniki Onaiwu, and Inga Shea. And the fourth keynote presentation today would be by Judy Singer, who actually coined the term neurodiversity. If she didn't coin the term neurodiversity, we probably will have a different trajectory. So very much looking forward to hearing what she thinks about the neurodiversity movement. And then the very last session of the day is going to be a panel of neurodiverse students, and they will talk about their student experience. And we're happy to have Amy Feijin, Lucy Wallace, Zachary Fung, Ada Perincum, and Serena Chen, and Alison Zhou. On day 2, we'll have fewer keynote presentations, but it's going to be equally as interesting and exciting. The first presentation is going to be given by Dr. Nancy Doyle. Her presentation title is The Future of Neuro-Inclusion, Beyond Tokenism and Towards a Neurodiverse Norm. And then after that, throughout the rest of the day, there will be a number of presentations that are in panel format or short presentation format. And it's going to be very interactive. And starting on Sunday, every day between 12 and 1, we also have the networking sessions. So in day 3, we also have 2 keynote speakers. Dr. Mike Wiemeyer from University of Kansas. She's, to me, basically she is the father of self-determination. She has done so much in the last 30 years on this, and cannot wait to hear his presentation. And we also have Dr. Sarah Rankin. She is a really prominent scientist in regenerative medicine. She is based in Imperial College London. Although she is very scientific, she is actually going to be talking more about education and in particular neurodiversity in STEM education and careers. For the rest of the day, we also have other talks that are going to be covering various aspects of employment related issues, such as for small businesses, if you want to start your own small businesses, and start your neurodiversity at work initiative in your businesses, consider attending this particular session, because we're going to talk about some nuts and bolts. And then we have employer panel from major corporations, and we also have a session that's more focused on the K through 12 audience. So you may notice that there are some sessions that are late in the day, and one of the reasons why is we want to make sure that the students are also able to attend, and that's why they are a little bit later. And then on Tuesday, we have this really very going to be exciting talk by Dr. Haki Reitman. He is really one of my heroes in neurodiversity space. He is going to be talking about how to maximize neurodiverse potential, and he would talk a lot about his own personal experience in very different ways, and also how he is making things working for neurodiverse individual for many years. He has been doing this kind of work. And then we also have the session on college students college readiness, undergrad and beyond. That session apparently is going to be geared towards students that are in college or students that are interested in attending college after graduation from high school, as well as other stakeholders like parents, teachers, and so forth. We have a couple of different sessions that day on Tuesday, day 4, October 20th. That's also going to be covering the topics on this is the paid internship program, PIP. And there are 2 sessions that are going to be not exactly related to employment, but is it's related to employment kind of in an indirect fashion. And there's going to be discussion on diagnostic disparities as well as mental health, mental wellness in the workplace. And on our last day, we are going to have a very packed schedule still. Hopefully at that time, we have enough energy to continue our discussions. And our last speaker is the youngest in among the 9 keynote speakers, but she is going to be having a lot of influence in the field of neurodiversity. So Sienna Castellan, she has been known as the person that started Neurodiversity Celebration Week. And because of her work on anti-bullying and neurodiversity, she has got a lot of attention in the United Kingdom, and especially in London. And she has won many major awards. And more recently, she actually was selected as one of the 17 young leaders of the United Nations. And this is very competitive selecting from 7,000 candidates. So we'll have the privilege to hear her speak about autism, addressing pre-employment challenges and barriers. And then after that, we have a neurodiverse employee panel and the pro tips for job seekers and employees on the spectrum, and then a networking session. And after that, we'll have a few hours talking about entrepreneurship. And then very last segment of the conference will be the final concluding session. And basically, we're going to have very short, succinct summaries of each session to be reported in the final concluding session. And the moderators would also talk about any actionable proposals that the sessions have come up with. And this will be basically the time to summarize the major ideas that we may have to move forward. So a little bit about the networking sessions. So we are going to have opportunities for attendees to network with speakers. And if you're interested in networking with speakers, you should have already signed up for a slot. And you should also have received a email with a Zoom meeting link, which is separate from the link here for the webinar. So basically, you have to sign off on your webinar that day, and then sign in to the Zoom meeting, and then have the networking session. The speaker is going to be driving the discussion and would welcome your questions to him or her. And then after that, around 12:55 or so, we're going to ask the speakers to end their Zoom meeting. And then all the attendees and the speakers would be invited to join back to the webinar. So this is also the time to learn about some of the programs that we have in the Stanford Neurodiversity project. And one is the Neurodiversity at Work program. If you're interested in the job bank or about the candidate registry, that's a good time to be speaking with Mark Gaviton, our program manager for the Neurodiversity at Work program. And also, you're going to have opportunities to learn about the network for K through 12 neurodiversity education and advocacy. And there's no need to sign up. There's a Zoom link already in our website. So if you go to our programs and speakers page and scroll to the networking session, at the very bottom, there will be a section on NIA, and you can find the Zoom link right there. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about accessibility features of the conference. So the first is about allyship, language, and respect. And a lot of neurodiverse individuals, especially individuals on the autism spectrum, prefer identity first language instead of the person first language. So instead of a person with autism, they may prefer autistic individual or autistic person. In this conference, we basically would prefer to use person on the autism spectrum kind of more generally, because it seems like most neurodiverse individuals are okay with that. And if you are going to be in a networking session and you would prefer people to refer your identity in a certain way, please just tell people's personal preference of yours. And this is also a conference that we are trying to learn from each other. So respect is the most important because there are going to be differences in how we view certain ideas. And this is the time to understand why people may have different ideas as yours. And it may not be exactly how you think in your way of thinking, but having the ability for all of us to learn more through this interaction is going to be very powerful for our field that we want to really make neurodiversity something that is going to be working more and more for people in various different settings, both in the educational setting and in the employment setting. And in order to do so, we need to know how other people are thinking about neurodiversity. And if we work collectively, we can definitely overcome a lot of barriers. So the second thing is about self-regulation. By that, I mean, basically, it's going to be up to you to decide on exactly what to join. Like this morning, there are about 380 people joining right at this moment. As far as we can tell, there are over 2,700 registrants. So what does that mean? That means some people are not going to be waking up 8:30 in the morning to hear me talk about this. But some people have decided to do that. And because we have a very long meeting, we have 5 days, it's going to be not possible for most of us to be really listening to the talks hour after hour. So please plan ahead on which presentation, which panel would be of interest to you, and the ones that you would like to learn more, the ones that you may want to ask questions. So basically select the sessions and take breaks. And everyone would need to have breakfast and have lunch and have dinner. So please do not let the conference disturb your routine. Next thing is about closed captioning. Just like what you're seeing here, at the bottom of the screen, there's closed captioning. Most of the presentations that use PowerPoint slides will have this feature. However, for panels, we're not going to require this feature. So if we do need, or if someone do need to read the content is going to be provided at the end of the conference. Actually, it will be a few weeks after the conference through transcripts. And that leads to the point about session recordings. We're going to record all sessions. And at the end of each day, we're going to have the sessions all downloaded to a hard disk. But the thing is, it's going to take some time to edit recordings. So most likely it's going to take us about a month for us to make those session recordings available. And then lastly, Q&A. As you may be able to tell from your computer, there's a Q&A function. Basically, this is what you're going to use to submit your questions. And I would also suggest that you tell us about what questions you have when you have them during the conference, during the presentation, instead of waiting till the very end. Because this way we are going to be able to facilitate the questions better. So don't wait until the end to ask questions. If you have those questions in your head, submit it, and then we'll try to channel to the speaker. So finally, before I end this segment, I'd like to go over some final logistics. We do have a YouTube channel. I hope it's working. Let me see if it's working over here. It looks like it's working. So I hope most people would not need to use the YouTube channel, because that's probably not as updated. There's a lag time, and there is also no option for the attendees in the YouTube to submit questions. So this is really for the overflow attendees. And then for the networking session, I already talked about, you should have received your Zoom meeting invitations. And then for people that are interested in some of the activities in the Stanford Neurodiversity project and would like to sign up, you actually can go back to your email that you received this morning. Actually, every day in the conference, you're going to receive an email it's going to be sent out at around 6 o'clock in the morning. And it will have all these links. So if you want to join the special interest group for neurodiversity, you can sign up over there. We are going to have a job fair, reverse job fair, in the middle of January next year. And we're going to have more information to be available in the upcoming days. So pay attention to the emails. we may be able to tell you a lot more in the email. If you're a job seeker on the autism spectrum, please consider learning about the Stanford Neurodiverse Candidate Registry. So there's also a link over there, and you can read about the candidate registry. If you're an employer who is interested in neurodiversity hiring, I would encourage you to also visit our website. And if you're interested in what we are doing, please send us an email. So the email address is Stanford Neurodiversity Project at stanford.edu. And then lastly, for high school students that are interested in neurodiversity, I mentioned about the network for K-12 neurodiversity education and advocacy. Please consider signing up through through the link in the email. You can also sign up through our website, and there's also a networking session per day for the NIA network. There's no need to actually get a invitation to get the Zoom the Zoom link. You basically can just click the Zoom link, and there's no limitation on how many people will enter the Zoom meeting. I take it back. It should be basically 500, but I kind of don't expect that there are going to be too many calling in. But basically, that's the time to ask questions about what the plans would be for the NEO network. So with that, I'm going to end here, and I'll stop share. And according to our schedule, we have this session is going to end at 9:30. So we have about just around 15 minutes. If there are any questions, Christy, please feel free to let me know, and I'll try to answer them.
Sure, I'm happy to let you know about some questions that we have. So let me just pull up the questions. We had some questions about video availability. So maybe if you can just again, let people know when the videos will be available and whether or not we will send out a link to people once they're available, or if they can just find them on our website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the plan is going to be that we will create those links to be accessible in our website. So most likely it's going to be available in about a month or so, because there's quite a bit that needs to be edited.
And we had another question about the term neurodiversity versus the term neurodivergent. And I'm not sure if now is the time to answer it, or if we will have speakers who will speak to the terminology a little bit more, but there were questions about why using the term neurodiverse versus neurodivergent.
That's a good question. I think it's also a matter of choice. And some people actually in the UK would prefer the term neurodiverse versus neurodivergent, but there are also many people that prefer to use the word neurodivergent. So to me, basically, the reason why we want to embrace the word neurodiverse is that we want to be as inclusive as possible. And for some people, neurodivergent may not sound like less inclusive. But there are some people would think like neurodivergent has a some suggestion of like being different. So the neurodivergent would be different from the neurotypical, and so my preference is that neurodiverse is going to be the word to use for people that want to use that word. For the people that want to use the word neurodivergent, then please use that word. So it's a personal choice, and there's no right or wrong.
Great, thanks. We have a few other more on the technical or sharing end. One question was about, do we have a hashtag that people can use on Twitter to post about the conference?
We don't have a Twitter account for this conference, so the answer is no. We have YouTube presence now, and that's practically what we have in addition to the Zoom webinar.
Great. And we had a couple questions around the Neurodiversity at Work program. Some of them were asking if it was available outside of the general Northern California area, or if it's confined geographically.
For the jobs that are going to be possible with remote work, if that's the case, right now we are working on including those remote jobs, so including the jobs in on the East Coast. But for physical, the jobs that would need physical presence, we are basically limiting them to California.
Great. And then just a couple questions on the networking sessions. We had, it sounds like there was some interest in signing up, and people were wondering if there are still openings for some of those sessions, and if so, how might they sign up? And are they open to everyone, you know, high school students or people of any age, or are there restrictions?
So the networking session sign up has already, the deadline for the sign up was a few days ago. So most of the sessions have a limit of 12, so they are already filled, because we want to make sure that the speakers are going to be able to interact with the attendees in small group. So the only exception for the networking session that you don't need to sign up is NIA, so the K-12 network. So all you need to do, if you're a high school student and you're interested in knowing more about NIA, you can just go to your email that you receive in the morning, the longer email, and you can see at the bottom, one of the major bullet points is about that networking session for NIA.
We have a couple more questions about the Neurodiversity at Work program. And the questions are about the cutoff age and just trying to understand why the cutoff age is 55. And then we have another few questions about ADHD and whether there'll be sessions in the conference for people who are ADHD, and also whether the Neurodiversity at Work candidate registry is open for people who have ADHD.
Mm-hmm. So in regards to the age, basically, because of the nature of the funding that we receive, this is through a study, and in order to actually run any study, we need to define an age, and the age that we have defined for the study population is 18 to 55. And the reason why we kept it at 55 is that basically it is really about our not knowing what to do exactly after, beyond 55. A lot of the time, the needs for people above 55 are actually quite different. And this is different in basically in the scientific literature in many ways. So that if we are not limiting that, that we might not actually even get the grant. So that's the reason why we keep it at 18 to 55. However, in the future, if our funding source is not through a foundation or from the NIH, if we don't have that limitation, and we do have the justification to expand to beyond 55, we definitely will do so. Our project is really all about inclusion. However, we are also limited by certain parameters that we can operate on. The other question about ADHD, in this conference, there are going to be many different discussions that will be applicable to people on the with ADHD. And in particular, I would want to point out that the presentations that are going to be given by Dr. Nancy Doyle tomorrow. Dr. Doyle often talk about her own ADHD, but when she is talking about neurodiversity, this is really broad. So when we talk about neurodiversity, neurodiversity really does not equal autism. That's probably more of the definition or what people understood about 20 years ago. This day, what we are using the term neurodiversity is to illustrate a concept of inclusion and understanding for differences in brain function and behavior. So basically, ADHD, dyslexia, autism, but even beyond these conditions, we talk about these conditions more because we have more experience with these conditions, but that neurodiversity does not only include these neurodiverse conditions. So the other talk that I want to bring out is Dr. Sarah Rankin, who is going to be speaking on, I want to say Tuesday. No, sorry, Monday 11 Pacific time. So she is also very open about her dyslexia. She is a very prominent scientist, and dyslexia actually did not stop her from becoming such a brilliant scientist. So so people with different neurodiverse conditions will be speaking in this conference. And I would also want to make the audience kind of embrace the idea that a lot of these concepts that we are talking about, maybe self-determination or strength-based model, this is not really only applicable to autism. It's really broad that we are trying to apply the concepts to.
I would just like to add too that on the panel this afternoon at during the intersectionality, race, and neurodiversity session, we'll have a number of panelists who will speak to their experiences with ADHD. So I think that will be a really interesting session to attend. The panel session of that starts at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So we hope that people decide to join us for that as well. Returning to another question about the Neurodiversity at Work program. We have a question of, do you connect students to other community resources like the regional center or DOR? And can individuals join the project as a job seeker if they are already receiving services through one of these state agencies?
Yeah, actually, we work with these agencies directly as well, and on a as needed basis for people that are not already clients of these agencies, we would recommend them to apply for to become a client in those agencies, and they being a client of these agencies do not preclude them from joining our projects. I mean, the Neurodiversity at Work program.
And we have a number of questions about links. You've mentioned a number of programs and different things, and it sounds like some people are really interested in joining them. Is there a place where they can go to get links to sign up for things like the special interest group or other other things that you've mentioned this morning?
Yeah, so if you go to your email that you receive, supposedly it's sent out this morning at 6 o'clock, you should have links to that. But the easiest way is actually to Google Stanford Neurodiversity Project and kind of poke around in the website, and then you can figure out there are a lot more things so explore our website, and then you can sign up very easily. And if for people that want to join the special interest group, they basically go to our website, and then it is under who we are, and there's the tab for special interest group for neurodiversity.
Great. And I have, we have some comments. Although we don't have a Twitter account, we have some people who are tweeting with the hashtag Neurodiversity Summit and tagging at Stanford. So just letting people know that there are some Twitter folks who are interested in sort of sharing in that format. And let's see, we did have a question again about the Neurodiversity at Work program. And this was a question about, are we interested or planning to extend the program's framework into the skilled trades? So rather than just for job seekers who have furthered their education or are college educated, but might want to find meaningful work in their local communities.
Yeah, we have the goal of really including a lot of the small businesses to be working on neurodiversity at work initiative. So if we are able to be more successful, we're kind of gaining some traction now that some small businesses are allowing us to do that. So there are going to be many more potential jobs that will be suitable for a much wider age range and educational level. So I think we are at 9:30 now. We probably want to start transitioning to our next speaker. So maybe we can use the transition slide, and then in a couple minutes, we're going to start introducing Dr. Liliana Mayo.